Siomra Beag.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to On Siomra Beag. Welcome back to the tiny room. I'm the Michael of one of the hosts of Michaelandbenjaminspodcast, and I am joined by the man who wants his mummy. It's Benjamin.
I do. I'm such a lonely boy in the big city. It's terrible.
You're not in the big city, Ben. You're in the suburbs. I can see you. I can see your green and vibrant garden behind you there.
I know, it's a lovely garden, isn't it?
It's a lovely garden, so green and vibrant, not unlike the fertile crescent of the Nile.
Yes, just like the banks of the Nile, which nurtured an entire civilization for many a year.
Benjamin, what does your opinion of the popularity of this very podcast that we're recording and an Egyptian crocodile, what do they have in common? They're both living in the Nile. Time for the theme music, Ben.
Theme music for the podcast. We don't actually have any theme music.
Very good. One of the best intros. Benjamin.
Yeah.
You know the old saying, Ben? There's an old saying that goes around, Ben, and the saying is, what goes around comes around. That saying, though, is less relevant to what we're doing. What I was thinking of, Ben, was the old phrase, the old saying, no news is good news.
Michael, we here at the podcast live by that particular phrase.
Oh, no news is good news. Benjamin, there's no news this week. There's nothing. There's nothing.
Nothing. Pure nothing.
Pure, purified, condensed, distilled nothing.
Yeah, we've been sitting here, Michael, twiddling our podcast thumbs because there ain't nothing happening.
There's nothing, Ben. There's nothing. If you go on any of the your regular old comic book news site, the only thing that's really going on is that Bryan Singer, Ben. It turns out he's a bit of a prick.
Well, I thought we knew that already. Was that not already hinted at heavily? Yeah, he's kind of a prick, and he's consistently been a prick, Michael. As they say in Egypt, a bloody Nile crocodile can't change its spots, Michael.
Did they say that?
Yeah, they definitely do. I don't know if you know this, but Nile crocodiles famously have the exact same print as a leopard.
Yeah, they're leopards you're thinking of, Ben. That was just a leopard having a swim that you saw that time. Remember that time we were in Egypt, Ben? We saw a leopard and he was having a swim. That's what happened there.
Yep.
And you went, Mick, that's one of the famous Nile crocodiles. And I said, it isn't, Ben. It's a leopard and he's having a little swim.
That was our first ever Orientalist podcast, Two Pricks in a Pyramid.
What are we talking about?
Michael, because we had absolutely nothing to do this week,
nothing, Ben. Absolutely nothing.
I actually had time to do a little bit of reading.
Reading, Ben, a comic, I assume.
No, not a comic, Michael. You assume incorrectly for a change.
A magazine.
No, not a magazine, Michael, not a magazine. Would you like to guess again to fill some more time?
A magazine. Very good. A brochure, Ben. A brochure.
Yes, a brochure for our travels to Egypt. No, what I took a look at this week, Michael, was Lovecraft Country.
That's a television series, Benjamin.
It is, well, it's to be a television series, Michael, but before it was a television series, it was a book by one Matt Ruff, published in 2016.
That's mad, isn't it, Ben? Imagine in this day and age that books that are published in 2016 are TV shows only a couple of years later.
And Michael, oh my goodness, has HBO hit a gold mine with this one.
Right, go on.
Michael, as you know, the world, especially America at the moment, is in a little bit of an uproar regarding certain rights for certain people and certain racial prejudices.
TikTok users, I think you mean.
Yes, President Trump is going to take it away from the young people.
No more TikTok for you, young people.
You
can't be trusted.
Less of expressing your free will and rights and get rid of that TikTok. We're not here to discuss the disruptive technology issued possibly by China to spy on just about every human being on the planet, Michael. What we're actually going to take a look at is the racial tension around the George Floyd killings. Michael, it was
Floyd George, wasn't it?
No, it was George Floyd.
Was it?
It was definitely George Floyd. This is not something you want to get wrong. It's George Floyd.
My head got twisted.
Okay, all right. There's a mural around the corner from your house if you'd like to check.
I know. I can see it from the back window.
Have a quick look out there and take a look.
No, I believe you.
So,
it just got twisted the other way around in my head. That's funny. That's weird.
One of the interesting things here, Michael, is that this is oddly timely as a novel, despite being published in 2016, and it's odd that this series was made before the George Floyd issues, because, Michael, is it going to play a huge role? Is it going to comment on all of that? So, it follows a family and their dealings with kind of a sinister cabal of
Oh, Ben, you love a sinister cabal.
Oh, love a sinister cabal, Michael. An ancient order of natural philosophy, and it's just alchemy by any other name, Michael. But it's wizards. They're wizards.
They're bad wizards.
They're crusty old white wizards.
They're racist wizards.
Racist wizards.
Is that something to do, Ben, with the fact that the leader of the Ku Klux Klan is called a wizard?
So I think it's probably feeding a lot into that, Michael. But when I say, Michael, this is one of the most enjoyable books that I have read in a very long time. I am not kidding. So it's an anthology series. Each character from this family gets their own kind of mini novella within the overall story. And
is that right?
Yes, they do. They do. And it's about this family of black people in 1954.
Not a great time.
In the middle of Jim Crow laws and all of the terrible, terrible things. And Michael, do you remember the terrible 2019 film Green Book?
No.
It was all about a black man who has to be escorted around the South to do a classical music tour by none other than that lad who played Aragorn, whose name has just completely floated out of my brain.
Viggo Mortensen.
Yeah, it's very good. Playing a wise guy Italian gangster for some reason. Anyway, it's called Green Book because there was, once upon a time, Michael, during the Jim Crow time, a small book that you could read as a person of color, and it would point you in the direction of all the safe places you could go where you wouldn't get lynched if you stayed overnight. Okay. And the premise is that Atticus Turner, who's one of the main characters, he works for his Uncle George. Finch. I think there's a little nod to that in there as we go along, Michael. He works for the Negro Safe Travel Guide. That's what it's called. And it's the one that it's the guidebook that helps black people navigate America at that time and find places to stay and holiday and things like that in 1954. Anyway, Michael.
Yes.
All of these things kind of tie together, and there's a real heavy emphasis on slave owning and lineage and a lot of the difficulties that black people went through in America, both before and after this time. And there's a huge Lovecraftian element, as you may have guessed, Michael. The opening story or the
Did you say, Benjamin, a huge Lovecraftian elephant?
Elephant,
like
yes.
It's got like 8 trunks.
8 trunks.
Arranged in a star around its head.
Bunch of lads with hoods keep following it around. It's real weird.
Oh, yeah. I've heard of it. Yeah, Dumbo, yeah. Dumbo is a pretty Lovecraftian elephant, isn't he?
He can fly. There's a Lovecraftian element to that.
See?
Definitely.
See, he's a beast from outer space.
Also, there's some racist crows, so, very Lovecraftian.
Good, yeah. Very Lovecraftian. Dumbo's is the first Lovecraftian film.
We're going to have to do an episode on that now.
That's the name of my thesis.
We're going to have to do an episode on that now. Anywho.
Yes.
Our opening story involves Atticus Turner, his Uncle George, Letitia, who are the central trio that you see in the ad for the TV series.
Right.
And they have to track down...
Played by Journey Smollett Bell.
Yes, exactly. And they have to track down Atticus's father, who's kind of been kidnapped, kind of been coerced by the mysterious Braithwaite family in Devon County.
Oh, they don't sound great.
And they're basically a bunch of ancient natural philosophers. They're an old money family, the whole 9 yards, Michael. And ooh-wee, do things get strange from there on out.
They sound like the worst, Ben.
Yeah, they are. They are, Michael.
Get rid of them.
And this kind of wizardry national philosophy, very poignant. Natural philosophy is kind of a codec for old white money and old white power against.
Yeah.
But it's written very well, Michael. Suffice to say, as you may have guessed from my review, there's no real monsters. The real monster is racism.
Oh, is there no real monsters?
No, there are real monsters as well. Yeah,
oh, good.
Don't worry.
Good as well. Good.
There's plenty of magic and real monsters and all that kind of stuff as well. But really, Michael,
the real monsters were us.
The real monsters were the white folk all along. And
not us, you and I. Bryan Singer.
Oh, there's one of the most interesting things about this, Michael, is that Matt Ruff is not a black man.
Oh.
Matt Ruff is a white man. And yet, the novel is written incredibly well.
Is it now?
Well, to my mind it is. And I took a while. I had to go through a couple of reviews here, Michael, to figure this out. Because maybe it was just my own racial prejudice being like, this is fine. This is fine. This is fine.
Yeah, this is fine.
But it seems
this is
to
exactly how I imagine black people from the 50s America think.
It seems to be
Yes.
a relatively restrained depiction of black culture in 1954. Now, by no means is it perfect, Michael. There's a couple of liberties taken with vernacular and, certain things like that. But it's a very well written book, Michael, centralized around this family. Thoroughly enjoyable. And I, for one, cannot wait to see the bloody series now.
Oh, that's very good. That's very exciting. Do you think I should read it, Ben?
I do think you should read it, Michael. Mainly because you yourself are part of an ancient natural order obsessed with the occult and the foreign and the strange. And it might be a nice little depiction of the people that you know.
Yeah, I'm not, though. Just in case anyone's...
no, that was a joke. Sorry, that was it.
Just in case anyone's listening, I'm not in any racist organization.
That was a joke. No, they're not a racist organization, Michael. Not all of them.
Oh, okay.
Not all of them.
I mean, racism isn't there.
It just, they just happen to be in Jim Crow America. It's not, the goal isn't racism. No.
That's fine. Yeah. We're not racist. We're just pro-Irish. Yeah. That's fine then. That's fine. I cannot see why.
As we listen to the Grand Wizard Gemma O'Doherty.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We should write a book where Gemma O'Doherty turns out to be a Cthulhu. That would make a lot of sense.
Just a completely out of touch, batshit crazy Cthulhu.
Yeah, and she's like, I've come from Rilith beneath the sea. I'm not wearing a mask.
I'm not wearing a mask.
They won't cover my tendrils.
It messes up my tendrils. It's uncomfortable for my tendrils.
Anyway, this is getting a bit political, Benjamin.
Speaking
of things which are not political, Ben.
Go on.
I've done you a setup there for the next thing.
Oh, have you?
Yeah.
What's the next thing?
You said there was a next thing. Remember you said that, I've got a sweet segue. Wait and you see.
Oh, yeah. So, from...
It's been ruined.
Sorry. Yeah. Sorry. Let me go again. My apologies. So, from one set of crusty old white men obsessed with Orientalism and strange magics and stuff like that, to the next set of crusty old white men obsessed with Orientalism and natural magic and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Michael, we had a bloody listener's letter.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was from a very good friend of the podcast, Ben, and regular contributor, the original I can't speak English today. The original glamorous lady of podcasting herself. It was Rachel.
OG Glop, baby!
She was the OG glamorous glop, Ben. So look, do you want me to read it?
Go on, give it an L read there.
Yeah. It says here, Ben, I'll do it in Rachel's voice.
I'd like a theatrical. Yeah, go on.
Hello, this is Rachel speaking now. Hello, everybody. I would love a Mick and Ben about Egyptian representations and myths in pop culture, by the way. I read an article there recently about the removal of statues from the Shelburne and thought that's something Mick and Ben would probably like to go on about. That's highly accurate. I mean, there have been several episodes with Rachel where you can check the veracity of that impression.
Well, I wouldn't be waiting for another episode where you can check the veracity because she's never coming on the podcast again after that.
Well, we don't need her. We don't need her, is what we've discovered, Ben, because I can fill in for her perfectly.
So, Michael, there's been a bit of news in the old Dublin town.
Yeah.
This weekend.
That's where I live, Ben.
Attention. There's a rather famous hotel here, Michael, called the Shelburne.
Yes.
Big fancy hotel.
It's a big fancy hotel for people with lots of money.
For big fancy people.
Big fancy rich people, Ben. We don't go there.
We don't go there because
we stay in our
right on out.
We stay in our suburban houses.
So, Michael, if you passed outside the Shelburne in the last 25 years, 30 years, before then, you would have seen some rather unusual statues hanging around outside the Shelburne. The statues are of two Egyptian goddesses and two slave girls, and those have connotations all their own, Michael. They're holding up lamps.
Yeah.
And there's it's just they're perfectly strange statues, Michael. They're weird. They have an Egyptian theme to them. For the purpose of basically the fact that they were constructed in the Victorian era when Egyptomania was all the rage.
Egypt was so cool back then.
Egypt was so cool back then, and we'll get into that a little bit later, Michael. But recently, it's been discovered that they were removed quietly by the Shelburne.
Isn't that interesting, Ben? They were probably worried that people would conflate ancient Egyptian slavery with American slavery from the last couple of centuries.
Or perhaps other depictions of people of colour. So they decided to do this. But Michael...
Yes?
It's come under a little bit of fire because Dublin has an awful lot of rules about what you can and can't do to their protected buildings. And one of those protected buildings is the Shelburne.
Yeah, you can't just decide, Ben. You can't just decide yourself, I'm taking these statues down.
Yeah, you don't get to do that here, Michael. You don't get to buy a grand old Georgian townhouse and paint it pink. That's not how it works. There are
Can't
quite a
bloody
few rules about what you can and can't do to these. You may maintain them to the level where they stay structurally sound. You may change a little bit about the interior here and there. But, Michael, the facade is certainly not to be touched or altered too much in any way whatsoever.
Who are you telling, Ben?
Yeah, well, look who I'm telling, Michael. And we'll get to that in another podcast in another day. But Dublin Council has now said, sorry, lads, where are the statues?
Where are the nubile young
them?
ladies? What have you done with them?
Where have you put them?
Bring them
How
back.
about we get those back now? And the Shelbourne's gone, I don't know if it's the right climate, lads. I don't know if it's the right climate. So in quietly trying to take these away, Michael,
Yes.
the Shelbourne seems to have drawn an awful lot more attention to itself than it would have bloody liked.
Interesting, Ben. Do you
Yeah.
think, and it's mad, it's folly, Ben, it's complete madness to think about other
bit
people's
silly.
motivations, but do you think that they're taking them down because they want to do the right thing, or do you think they're taking them down to protect them in case someone just takes issue with them and pulls them down?
No, they're trying to beat what would inevitably be a PR disaster.
Do you think?
I'm not sure Irish people would take it in the same breath as we would. I mean, as you know, Michael, that America and Ireland are two very different societies. with
Two
very
entirely different
outlooks.
cultures, Ben. Two entirely different countries, in fact.
However,
Yes.
it does seem
Yes.
that outrage and sweeping actions have been popular of late, and perhaps they thought, oh, well, we don't want anybody tearing them down.
Perhaps those. Bloody TikTok. I blame
mistakes,
TikTok, Ben.
I just blame society in general, Michael. It's
I don't-
all gone to pot.
I don't know if I blame TikTok or Gemma Doherty more. Where does that put me on the political spectrum, Ben? If I blame both TikTok and Gemma Doherty,
Are you
confused, politically confused, I think it puts
you're
me.
a
doesn't it?
fascist snowflake, I think. on
Oh,
the
very good. Okay.
Political, yeah. I think
Once
that
again,
puts
I'm
you on the
not.
fascist
but-
snowflake.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm not a member of any societies.
No, we are joking, ladies and
Let's
gentlemen. That
just
should
keep
be very,
clearing
very
that
clear. So just to be very, very clear. No, it's interesting. It's a little presumptive of them to think that kind of thing might happen.
Well, Ben, we don't know. That's why they have taken it down. They may have taken it down.
We don't
because their
know.
own
They could be
decision.
getting scrubbed. They could
Yeah.
be getting cleaned.
It's their own decision, Ben. Anyway, what has that led us to talk about this week?
So anyway, Michael, as Rachel pointed out, she'd like to hear us talk about something other than Greek and Roman mythology, which seems to pop up quite a lot for us.
We're always going on
She
about
asked-
it.
She asked us to take a look at bloody Egyptian mythology, culture, and representation in film, Michael.
Yes, delicious. No.
Now, as I said to you, Michael, one of the tricky things for us is that neither of us is Egyptian.
No, not even
I
slightly.
don't know if you've noticed that. And despite having spent many, many years in Egypt on our other podcast, Two Pricks in a Pyramid,
Yeah.
we aren't really born there and we can't really understand that outlook. So what we've decided to focus on, Michael, is more or less Western perception of Egyptian culture and how that's influenced in our media.
I just watched some films. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, you just watched some films, Michael, and I did a little bit of reading. On
You
different
and your
things.
magazines. You're always
I
reading your
love it.
magazines.
Love a magazine, Michael. Love a magazine. So we delved into a few different things, Michael, and there's been a whole bunch of stuff, but we should probably look at where this all comes from, Michael.
Egypt, yeah, it's Egypt.
Because especially in UK culture or English Victorian society, it was all the rage, Michael. Having the old Egyptians just in every bit of fiction they could lay their hands on. And that all kind of came from way, way back, Michael.
Yeah.
Way, way back. And I have
Yeah.
the date here just to
The
make sure I
olden
have
days.
it. In 1798, when Napoleon started his campaign on Egypt.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, this is fascinating. Do go on.
Yeah, so anyway.
Ben,
he
sorry
launched
there.
a-
Sorry for 1 second. When I say do go on, I do mean do go on, but I am going to keep interrupting you and trying
That's
to
all right.
disrupt you. But do go on, though.
That's absolutely fine.
Yeah,
So in
yeah,
1798, Napoleon began his Egyptian campaign, whereupon he tried to kind of take over all of Egypt and
Yeah.
do the whole shebang for France.
For France, yeah, little French
That's
fella,
what
yeah.
Napoleon did every once in a while.
Yeah.
And with that opening of the floodgates, I suppose, came a whole bunch of colonial people going, oh, well, if they're having some, I'll have some too.
Oh, yes, let's all go to Egypt and get some stuff.
And then, well, lo and behold, Michael, all of the museums here in the UK and France filled up with stuff that wasn't theirs.
Mm.
And that was done with a lot of tomb pilfering and nicking and stealing and...
A bit of Indiana Jonesing, a bit of Lara Crofting.
Yes, but without the abs.
Yeah. Who has
probably a
abs?
bunch of-
Harrison Ford has never had abs.
Lara Croft. It
Oh,
was
Lara Croft has some abs,
She
yeah.
definitely had abs at some point.
Spiky polygonal abs.
The stuff that 90s teenage boys' dreams were made of.
Num num num.
Mangles. So, anyway.
Yes.
This began something that is now dubbed Egyptomania.
Yeah.
And Egyptomania was kind of the push of upper-class British people towards buying, acquiring, acquiring is not a word.
You've made up a new word.
Acquiring anything they could get their hands on that would be at all deemed Egyptian. It could be tangentially Egyptian, like a rug that was got in Iraq, but they would then buy it, put it in their house and say, well, that's an Egyptian rug.
Oh, yes.
And they'd
It's
be
all
like,
the same,
Iraq
isn't it?
isn't Egypt. And it's all the same. Don't be silly. So that led to the kind of the rise of Egyptomania, and that led to a form of culture which is the Middle East and Africa through the British lens, which then became known as Orientalism a little bit later on.
One of your favourites.
Yeah, I love Orientalism. Edward Said, go pick up his book. Really interesting book.
Magic carpets, Benjamin.
Magic carpet rides all around.
Yeah.
And that's exactly right, Michael, because what happened with Orientalism
Don't you dare close your eyes.
Yeah, Latin, exactly. Oh, we'll get to that, Michael. We'll get to that.
Oh, we will we?
Don't you worry. One of the interesting things that came out of Orientalism,
Not do I keep
Michael,
interrupt you, we won't.
is that Egypt, the East in general, became this kind of bastion of ancient magic and culture and the strange and mysterious and the backwards primitive worship of deities and stuff like that.
Yes, I'm familiar with them.
It's really interesting, Michael, because when it was initially when that plundering all took place, hieroglyphs, pyramids, sphinxes, that kind of thing, these were completely undecipherable to the Western eye, and it became a huge conspiracy theory that Egypt was kind of the cradle of all civilizations. That the pyramids were somehow an ancient civilization that predated the Romans and the Greeks, and they were influenced by that, and the Atlanteans. And only later, Michael, did we find out that, well, while Egypt certainly did have some influence on Rome and Greece, it wasn't almighty and earth-shattering and all that kind of thing. So this kind of skewed perception of Egypt is what we're going to be looking at today, because it has persisted, Michael. In fact, there's a famous trope that's called Egypt is still ancient. And even today, when we look at depictions of Egypt on the televisual box,
they're always running around the pyramids.
They're always running around the pyramids, because that's all Egyptians do. They just leg it around pyramids.
Leg it around the pyramids and worship Ra.
And Ra. Yeah, so that's what we're going to be talking about today, Michael. And to do that, we took a look at a little bit of different culture. Would you like to tee off?
Will I? Okay. Well, Benjamin, look, where will we start? Well, Benjamin, I think what's a good place for us to start?
Go on.
Because, Benjamin, just as, despite what you've just said, just as Egypt and the Nile Crescent was undoubtedly the birthplace of civilization, Egypt was also the birthplace of Michael and Benjamin's podcast.
It was it?
Yes.
Oh, it was!
There you go!
Yeah, it was.
So, Benjamin, why don't you tell us, because I've twisted it around on you, who even is Moon Knight?
You son of a bitch. Mark Spector was a down-on-his-luck mercenary who couldn't catch a break. But thanks to one wacky Egyptian god, hooey, was he going to get his revenge.
Exactly,
now,
Ben.
Tune in every week to see Mark take on his latest foe. Go on.
Yeah, so the Moon Knight, obviously, his patron god, Benjamin, unlike some of the other Marvel characters who are the gods themselves, Moon Knight has the patron god of Khonshu, or Khonsu. Very good. Yeah. And he's some sort of moon chap, Ben. He's always doing moon stuff.
Moon chap is my new favourite thing.
Yeah, so famously, Ben, and this is a bit of a derogatory term to say about the character who launched our podcast for us, but Moon Knight is basically an Egyptian-themed Batman.
Yes, that's fair.
It's if you were having Batman, but you didn't want to do Batman, so you can't throw batarangs, you can throw moonerangs.
Yep.
And if you don't want to have a bat staff, you have an Ankh staff.
Yeah, it's classic.
Yeah. So Moon Knight is probably the most prominent Egyptian-themed superhero. Hilariously, he's not Egyptian, he's American, of course. But, representation isn't always what it is now, Ben. And
fair.
In recent times, Benjamin, the Egyptian, you could read large parts of Moon Knight's comics without ever worrying about the fact that it's an Egyptian thing.
Yeah.
Because he's in Chicago and he's punching a man in the head. You know,
He's giving him a sock in the jaw.
not everything is super Egyptian, but recent runs, Ben, have leaned more into the Egyptianness. So you've got lots of appearances of gods with animal heads.
Classics.
You know, the classic Egyptian, there's a man, he's got the body of a man, but the head of a weird animal thing. And you've got loads of those appearing in later Moon Knight runs.
Stacks.
In the current run of Avengers, Ben, Moon Knight, with the help of Khonshu, is stealing all the objects of power from people. He stole the Iron Fist from Danny Rand.
What?
He stole it. He stole what else did he steal? He stole something from Doctor Strange. He stole Mjolnir from Thor
Get out of town.
because he claimed that the Uru metal was from a moon.
So
And-
he has dominion over the moon now?
So he has dominion over the moon, apparently, allegedly. You know, he has dominion over all moons.
Get to fuck.
Yeah. It's
Doesn't
ridiculous.
make any sense.
So anyway, yeah, Moon Knight is probably the most prominent Egyptian myth themed comic book character, I would say, unless you can disprove me.
Well, funnily enough, Michael, he's one of the few in the Marvel universe, as far as I know, but DC have had a bit of an Egyptomania fetish for quite a while.
Go on.
There's a few DC characters that are just 100% from Egypt. So Blue Beetle, especially in his current incarnation, he has the scarab
Yeah.
that was found in the
that's
sands
quite
of Egypt and
That's
flew
quite
around
Egyptian.
and very Egyptian. Dr. Fate is fully Egyptian.
Oh, of course, the helmet of Nabu.
The helmet of Naboo, which is the Lord of Order.
I said that wrong on purpose.
Yes, I know. Nabu's helmet. Very funny, Michael. Very funny.
Yes,
So-
yes.
His origin story is actually that his father was an explorer
Right.
called something Hall. I can't remember. I think he's Hector Hall. So his father was an explorer called Hall anyway. And he was exploring the pyramids when he came across the depiction of Naboo, who was one of the few white statues in the entire pyramid.
Oh, good.
He's
Well,
a
that probably
white
makes
guy
him,
with blonde hair and a goatee.
probably makes him trustworthy, yeah.
Very trustworthy. You can trust white people. Can't trust those tan Egyptians.
Those Egyptians, yeah. Keep an eye on those fellas. Ben, have I ever told you about the secret society I'm a member of? Perhaps you'd like to join.
We're done after this one. This is the end of us. This is the end of us. So he has that whole history there, and his powers are largely derived from that. And then Black Adam who's a huge
Of
kind of
course he
Egyptian-based
is.
character.
Yeah. But,
Yeah.
I mean, Black Adam is Egyptian in the sense that he's from the country of Egypt. But,
Yes.
But doesn't he get his powers from the Greek gods?
Yeah, apparently.
That doesn't make
As-
any sense, Ben.
as
now
you
that
said,
we're
Michael.
talking about it.
Yeah. As you
Now
said
that-
before, Michael. Representation isn't what it was.
Now that we're talking about this out loud, Black Adam is ridiculous. Why doesn't he get his powers from the Egyptian gods?
Also, Black Adam is a dodgy name to give a lad from Egypt.
He's not. Yeah, I mean,
It's-
he's Black Adam because he wears black, not because he is black.
Yeah, well.
Well, no, I'm actually happier with that than naming every black character Black something.
Black Lightning.
Yeah, Black Lightning, Black Panther. It's grand. It's fine. It's fine. He's called Black something because he wears black.
I'm always surprised that Steel wasn't just Black Steel.
Black Superman.
Black Superman.
Where are we
Go
going?
on.
What are we talking about? Oh yeah. So yeah, they are Egyptian, aren't they?
Yeah.
But
Well,
not really.
technically they're DC's Egyptian. So Kandak is the kingdom that's kind of Egyptian in
Of
DC's
course.
modern representation, because DC doesn't like to do real countries
Mm.
in the same way that Marvel does. Marvel has your New York, your Dublin, your London, your
Yeah, but it also has your
Chicago.
Sokovia and your Latveria. And
Yeah, I mean, it's got some sneaky things in there as well.
they like
but
making up a fake one.
generally speaking, DC likes to do their own thing.
Aren't
So,
the Hulk people as well a little bit Egyptian themed?
yeah, so Carter Hall, that's who I was mixing it up with. He's not Hall at all. He's Hector. I can't remember what he is now. So Dr. Fate is something else. He's not Hall, but Carter Hall is Hawkman, and
Yeah.
Shaira Hall is Hawkgirl, and they're reincarnated Egyptian pharaohs.
Of course they are, Ben. Everyone's always
Yeah.
reincarnated Egyptian pharaohs.
Look.
Benjamin. Go on.
Yeah.
Go
No,
on.
you go on.
No,
Go
I
on.
will then. Benjamin, I suffered through quite a lot this week, to be honest with you.
I'm sorry.
Didn't DC have a character called Isis? Wasn't there an Isis, and she was like an Egyptian god lady?
Yeah, so it's Black Adam's dead wife.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's Black
Wasn't
Adam's
there a TV show
long-lost
though
love.
in the 70s?
Yeah, so she was a Shazam, Captain Marvel adjacent
Yeah.
person, and similar thing. She said the magic word.
I'm only familiar with her because didn't Lois Lane or possibly Lana Lang briefly become her in Smallville in an episode?
Oh, she did. She was possessed by Isis, and then that became very, very risky.
Yeah. I've only just remembered that now. We probably should have watched that episode.
Well,
Benjamin. Go on.
yeah, go on. Should I go through the gods? Do you want me to go through the gods?
All right.
Because Isis is a god.
All right.
She's a goddess in this fiction. So before we go any further, we should probably take a look at where a lot of this comes from, ladies and gentlemen. So there are ostensibly.
Oh,
That's not
very
how
good.
you use that word. Never mind.
No, but I mean, it's a big word, so people won't know.
There are 7 major players in Egyptian mythology, and those are Ra, Bastet, Thoth.
That's an
Thoth.
internet slut, Ben, you're thinking of.
No, that's a Thoth.
You're right.
This is Thoth.
Right. That sounds the same.
Osiris.
ISIS is a
Horus.
terrorist organization, Ben. What are you talking
Horus.
about? Yeah. Horrors,
And Anubis.
have you said?
Yeah, so we got Hor, Thoths, and Isis.
Okay, good. Well, this is going to definitely get us blacklisted.
We're definitely going to be put into a bad algorithm.
Benjamin.
So, yeah.
Of course, Lady Gaga is one of Ra's most popular earthly followers these days.
Is she?
Yeah, because she's always going, ooh, ra, ra.
Oh, you are such a dick.
I bring all the best jokes, Ben. That's why I'm on the
You
podcast.
do. That's why you're here.
Benjamin,
Yeah, go on.
what do you think of the whole concept that the ancient Egyptian gods and pharaohs were actually aliens?
I'm not a fan. I think it...
Who's there, Ben? There's
Sorry,
someone
my
there.
father is trying to get my attention in the corner.
What does he want?
He's trying to cook for me, Michael. He's been
Oh,
very
what's he
kind.
cooking?
But
Is he
he's just
cooking
let me know. He's
some-
doing saucies.
Saucy, very good. Okay, you wouldn't
There
get
we
those in
go.
Egypt, Ben. You'd get probably some sort of couscous or something like that.
Some kind of couscous, some kind of Middle Eastern... No, you wouldn't. God damn it.
Ben,
I've been thrown
Ben,
off my game.
Egypt isn't in the Middle East.
No,
Ben.
I
It's in
know.
North Africa. What
I
are you talking
know.
about? So, Benjamin, anyway, as you know, Benjamin, it's a very popular theory in the popular culture that the ancient gods of ancient Egypt were aliens who came down to Earth and built the pyramids and did all sorts of alien things, man. What was that book called? Is that the book Caravan of the Gods? Is that what Chariot of the Gods? Chariot of the Gods. Is that what that was, Ben? So, Ben, I did you a favour and I watched a film I watched only a couple of weeks ago. I rewatched Stargate again.
Oh, good man.
Because I'm always watching Stargate.
He
You can't
loves a bit of
stop me.
Stargate.
I love a bit of Stargate, Ben.
Yeah.
And Ben, in the Stargate movie, the baddie, the alien, the guy from The Crying Game, he plays Ra. Your favourite character, Ra. Yeah, he plays Ra.
God of the Sun.
The god of the sun, the king of the Egyptian gods, Ben.
Yes. Zeus.
I suppose Zeus.
Parallel.
He's a Zeus or Odin, or he's the big daddy.
He's the All-Father character.
But bizarrely, generally depicted a bit younger than the All-Fathers of other. He's
Yeah,
not
he's a young,
he's not a
sexy
beardy
svelte
sky
lad.
daddy. Say
No,
that again.
It's not a beardy sky. Oh, beardy sky daddy should go on a t-shirt.
Yeah. I'll get one. He's not a beardy sky daddy. He's usually kind of young and sexy.
Yeah, he's a young and sexy, svelte young man. He's where it's at.
So in that movie, Ben, he is an alien and Ra is an alien. But as you know, in the series, it turns out that the aliens are actually called the Goa'uld, and all of the Egyptian gods, all the ones you've just mentioned, Ben, end up in the series in various forms.
Get out of town.
Indeed. Probably the most interesting, Ben, was Thoth. Because he turned out to be, was it him? I think it was him. He turned out to be a rebel. He was secretly one of the Goa'uld who didn't want to enslave humanity.
That makes sense because he's the god of wisdom.
He's the god of wisdom, exactly, Ben.
He's got a bit of foresight on him.
Yeah, and Ben, my favourite episode was when they met Hathor.
Who's Hathor?
Hathor is the Egyptian goddess of love, fertility. Egyptian gods don't seem to be as clearly defined as Greek or Roman or even Scandinavian Nordic gods.
They're definitely not.
She's the goddess of everything, and
They're
sometimes
very
she's
flexible.
sometimes she's people's wives, and sometimes she's people's mothers. But she's the cow-headed one.
Oh, yeah. There's
Um,
nothing says sexy to me like a cow-headed woman.
exactly. Well, cows are symbols of fecundity and fertility, Ben, so it makes sense. But anyway, she is the classic in the Stargate episode. She's a classic seductress type.
A classic seductress.
So she comes to
Ooh, she's gonna
Stargate
do
and
it.
she goes around seducing everyone.
Sexy shimmy.
Yeah, she's played by a very white American lady. But sure, look, it doesn't matter because in Stargate, they're aliens.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yes.
Does she secretly seduce people and nobody knows what's going on until Daniel does a bit of research and he goes, oh my god, she's that goddess and she does this.
No,
She's
I
been
think-
fooling us the whole time.
If I remember correctly, Daniel is one of the first people she gets.
Oh, she gets it. She knew. She was getting Daniel. Getting him out of the
exactly,
picture.
Exactly.
Getting
So
him out of the picture.
every single Egyptian god or every
Yeah, go
single
on.
character who's ever mentioned in Egyptian mythology shows up at some point in the 10 seasons of Stargate SG-1.
Excellent.
Yes, very good, very enjoyable.
Excellent. Michael, what else did you have to suffer through this week?
I suffered through, Ben, another bit of Egyptian mythology stealage in 2016, I think. American-Australian co-production, Gods of Egypt.
Oh.
Starring your
Michael.
favourite actor and mine, Ben, Jerry B.
Jerry B. in the place
Yeah.
to be.
He's the baddie, Ben. He's Set. You tell us who Set is.
Set. Set is the god of the underworld. Well, he's not the god of the underworld specifically. He's just a
No.
bit of a dick.
He's the god
Um,
of deserts, Ben. He's the god of deserts and being a prick.
Yeah, deserts, desiccation, drying stuff out, not having your crops do too well,
Yeah.
etc., etc.
Just
He's
generally being a
real
prick.
dick. There's a very Game of Thrones vibe that runs through a lot of Egyptian mythology where it's like, oh, I'm going to get rid of Horus, I'm going to get rid of him, I'm going to take his place.
Yeah, well,
And
that's
then-
very interesting you've said that, Ben, because in this film, Horus is played by Nikolai Coster-Waldau.
No way.
Him from out of Game of
fame.
Thrones, yeah.
Him
exactly.
from out of Game of Thrones.
Him from out of Game
Um,
of Thrones.
And they're always trying to do one over on each other and kind of get rid of each other, and it's a whole
Yeah.
thing, Michael.
Yeah.
But yeah, Seth is a bit of a dick.
And Seth famously, Benjamin, he has, that most of them have animal representations, like Horus is a hawk.
Yep.
And Hathor is a cow, and Bastet or Bast she's a sexy lady cat.
She should be the lady. She should be the seductress. I mean, come on. If we're
Times have changed, Ben, is what I'm saying.
okay.
A cow lady would have been the sexiest superhero in the Egyptian times. And where was I going with that? Why was I saying that?
Animal representation. Jerry
Animal
B. Place to be.
representations, yes, yeah, exactly. Because Seth, Ben, has famously, even to this day, people don't know exactly what animal Seth is supposed to be.
Oh, they haven't picked him out. I thought it was
No.
a crocodile-headed fella.
No, that's
You know?
not Seth. Isn't crocodiles? Isn't that Thoth? I think.
Hang
And
on.
jackals are Anubis, but
Yeah.
Seth Ben is generally referred to as the Seth animal.
Oh, yeah,
he's just a
classic.
kind of generic kind of thingamajiggy, and it's very hard to pin down what animal he is specifically.
Oh, that's
And he's
pretty good.
played by a notorious Scottish person, Jerry B. But
That's very accurate, isn't it?
it's very accurate, very accurate
mean,
to the
really.
times. Hathor, Ben, your favourite character Hathor, is played by your favourite actress Elodie Young.
Oh, I do like Elodie.
Yeah, I know you do. And Ra, Ben, Lady Gaga's favourite Egyptian god, Ra, is played by your favourite actor. I've forgotten his name.
Oh, no.
What's his name? Rush. George Rush? Gregory Rush?
Jeffrey Rush.
Jeffrey Rush, thank you. From out of Pirates of the Caribbean, him.
Yeah, I like it, though. You went through all the G's. You were getting there on
Yeah,
your
I
own.
was on the right direction.
Gregory Rush.
Funnily enough, in this, though, this Ra is a Beardy Sky Daddy Ra.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm putting Beardy Sky Daddy on a t-shirt. I'm going to write that down now.
Do it very good.
I just like that. Merch available in the bio.
All right, it isn't, but, maybe in a couple of weeks. Benjamin,
Yeah, I'm still writing down Beardy Sky Daddy. Hang on. There we go.
this film, Ben,
Yeah.
is part of the triumvirate of attempts to make God cool.
Clash of the Titans.
Not Clash of the Titans, the other one. The Immortals, is that what it was called?
Oh, yeah. That was terrible.
The Immortals, where all the Greek gods were all shiny and gold.
With scary, sexy lady, French lady.
I don't know who that is.
Yeah, James... Eva Green.
Eva Green? Is she
Eva
in-
Green.
No, she's not.
She was in The Immortals.
is she?
She is, yeah. Isn't she?
Are you not
Hang
thinking
on.
of 300? You're thinking of 301, the sequel to 300.
That's what I'm thinking of, yes.
Yeah,
That is
that's
exactly
entirely
what I'm
different.
thinking of. Oh, for
Um,
God's sake.
Anyway, this Ben is very influenced by that, by Thor.
Right.
Heavily influenced by Thor.
Get out of town.
Very, very heavily influenced by Thor. It's the visuals, Ben, are sumptuous, and it's got some very good concepts. Like it has interesting depictions of gods. For example, Ben, they're all 8 foot tall.
What?
They're between 8 and 10 foot tall. They're all way too big, and it's weird, and it looks weird, and I think it was a weird choice.
Why did they do that? Is it just
I
to set
don't
them
know.
apart from humans?
Yeah, to set them apart from the humans, but it leads to situations where Nicholas Coster-Waldau as Horus teams up with a human boy called Beck, not the musician Beck, a human boy called Beck, who's
I'd
also
watch it way quicker if it was the
musician Beck from
I
the
would-
20th century. That would be great.
Yeah.
And it's weird because he's like twice as tall as him for no reason. It's bizarre.
It is weird.
It is very weird. And in the all god scenes, it looks fine because they're all the same size. And in all human scenes, it's fine. But when they're in a scene together, it looks mental. It looks absolutely mad.
So what happens in this movie, Michael?
Well, they can turn Transformer-esque as well into their animal representations and have a fight. So
Oh, for fuck's sake.
there's lots of CG. So anyway, Ben, Osiris, who's the king of the gods,
Yeah.
he has decided to retire, and he's going to pass on the king of Egypt ship. This is in Egypt with no Egyptian people, by the way. But he's passed on the king
they all
of
white?
They're all, they're Australians. It was filmed in Australia on an Australian grant. They're all Australians, and Jerry B and Nicholas Coster-Waldau and
dear.
Elodie Young. So they're in Australia anyway, and they're in Egypt and doing a winky face. And at the ceremony, Seth shows up, Ben, Jerry Butler, famous Egyptian Jerry Butler, and he kills Osiris, Ben.
Oh, what a dick.
And he plucks out Horus's eyes, and he takes over. Yeah, and then a couple of years later, a young street thief called Beck, who
Aladdin.
just call him Aladdin for God's sake. His girlfriend is killed.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and he goes to Horus, and they make a deal that he'll help Horus get his eyes back if Horus helps him to bring his girlfriend back.
Kinky.
Yeah, it's kinky. It actually is a little kinky. It's beautiful people doing beautiful things, the likes of which you don't see in films very much anymore. It has a 90s exploitativeness to it.
Speaking of 90s exploitedness
Oh,
and
no, we're
horny
not
dead
there
people,
yet. Hold
Michael.
on. We're
Oh,
gonna
Michael,
get
that
there
was a
in a
perfect segue.
I know, but hold on. It's a weird film, but there are some brilliant things in it. Ra is the grandfather of Horus, right? And he's the sun god. And he's basically out of the picture because he's in a giant chariot circling the world, towing the sun, fighting the demon Apophis.
But that's Apollo.
Well, that's Ra as well. That makes sense. In fact,
Get out of town.
someone wrote, I can't remember who it wrote, but some Roman wrote they call their name for Apollo is Ra, or maybe it was Horus. But anyway, so there's some fascinating aspects to it like that are really cool. Ra on his giant boat in the sky, traveling around a flat Earth, pulling the sun behind him, fighting off this giant demon Apophis. Brilliant. But then any of the drama about the young Aladdin surrogate trying to bring his sexy girlfriend back because she got shot. Oh God, it's terrible. It's a terrible film. It's hard to watch.
Oh, sorry, Michael.
It's got some cool concepts and cool designs, but God's almighty, Ben, the plot is dreadful. It's a slog. It's an absolute
nice
slog.
Ugh.
Anyway, go on. Speaking of 90s exploitiveness.
Speaking of 90s exploitiveness and horny dead god people,
Yeah.
Michael, my first introduction to any of this, was probably in 1999's The Mummy with one Brendan Fraser.
One Brendan Fraser, one Rachel Weisz, and my favourite actor and yours, John Hannah.
John Hannah, what a win. What a win. Now, Michael, I want to set this up in a very clear way. We're going to set this up because then we had 2017's ill-fated The Mummy.
Yeah, not as good.
Not as good. And I think there are several reasons for that. We're going to get into it now.
Right.
Now, before we begin, we should note that the depiction of Egypt in The Mummy is a British fiction writer's wet dream.
Yes.
Okay, it's bloody primal, savagey Egyptian people saved by a
camels.
strapping American man and demure English lady. Okay,
Although she is half Egyptian.
she is half Egyptian, and that's very important. So anyway, in this, the ancient priest Imhotep attempted
Make sure you say it properly, Ben. They never in these movies say an Egyptian word without being dramatic. Imhotep. Yes, very good.
Okay, so
Hamunaptra.
Yeah, so Imhotep and Hamunaptra have been going at it. Okay?
No, Hamunaptra is the city. And Uxunamun is the lady.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I mixed it up. So wait, which one's the city?
Hamunaptra.
Hamunaptra, and which one's the young one going at it?
Anuxunamun.
Anuxunamun. So Imhotep and Anuxunamun have been going at it on the sly behind the pharaoh's back. Tut.
Oh, very good.
Get it?
Yeah, that's very good.
Oh,
that's the best pun of the whole episode.
Nailed it. Okay, so anyway, they've been going at it on the sly.
Let's wrap it up there. Why would we go any further? That's brilliant. You've hit the nail on the head. You've peaked in terms of ancient Egyptian puns.
That's it.
Everything else is a waste of time after that.
I can go no further. So they've been running around behind the pharaoh's back, and Imhotep only goes and gets himself caught.
Yeah.
And his poor missus, next
Anuxunamun.
She's killed.
Oh yeah,
and he's mummified. Actually. And his entire goal is pretty much the plot to Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula, where he travels across the oceans of time to be with her again.
Yes,
but to do that,
true,
he has to sacrifice a stack of people and kind of eat them all up and get turned back into the mummy. One of the interesting things here, Michael, is that the main message of this is, hey, how about you don't fuck around and desiccate other people's culture? How about you don't do that?
Leave it alone.
None of this would have happened. Don't go around acting the bollocks, and maybe if you don't do that, bad things won't happen. So there's a nice post-colonial kind of middle finger. And I'm all for that. And that's what makes it interesting to me. And then we get to see a depiction of Egypt that is still a little bit verging on the Egypt is still ancient theme, but it is set in
It's set in the 20s, 26, I think.
Oh, it's set in the 20s.
Yeah.
So it's
in the
right at the peak of all that kind of plundering archaeology stuff. Brendan Fraser plays, what's his name?
Rick Two-Gun O'Connell.
Oh, Rick Two-Gun O'Connell.
I've added in the two-gun myself. Because he's always leaping about the place with two guns. He's always leaping about the
place, squeezing off a trigger. And my favourite thing about this is that he plays the bewildered, kind of stumbling American, and he is constantly told, you don't understand this, shut up. Mm-hmm. You don't understand this, shut up. You don't get this, shut up.
It's one of his least bumbling roles, actually. Rick O'Connell in this is very competent.
Yes.
He does become a lot more bumbly and panicky in later films, and he gets a bit more Brendan Fraser-y. But he's your classic competent hero in this.
Yeah, he suffers from Star-Lord syndrome a little bit, where they kind of get it right first time, and then you have diminishing
returns. They dumb him down a little bit. Yeah, there's a good bit of Star-Lord to him, actually.
Well, I suppose it'd be the other way around.
There's a good bit of Rick O'Connell to Star-Lord, two guns doing a lep. Yeah.
I always assumed that Uncharted, the PS4 3-4 game, was based largely on him. I always assumed that a lot of that DNA went in there and kind of got mushed around. Anyway, one of my favorite things about this is the bloody villain. He's just so bloody menacing. He's a great villain. His weird, creepy thing where he has to get his intestines and stuff out of jars and then feed on people to get it back. Yeah. To this day, I can't see a beetle larger than the size of a euro without freaking out and fearing that it's going to go under my skin.
It'll go under your skin.
Ahmed Jalili is there for some reason. He pops up in it as you go along. There's a little bit of othering with Egyptian people, where all the Egyptian people are slightly underhanded and a little bit crooked and
a little bit knobbly and gnarly.
And that doesn't get rectified until later, when we meet the Brotherhood, who have kind of dedicated their entire lives to keeping Imhotep in his box.
Yeah, and they have Ahmed Fair, and he's very handsome.
Ahmed Fair is a very handsome man.
He's a very handsome man, and he's competent, and he's a good guy. And a lot of his guys get killed early goings because no one just speaks to each other.
Yep, they could have a little open line of communication, lads.
Yeah.
Could have nipped it in the bud.
Everything out. One of my favorite things about it is Evie. Her family name is Carnarvon, Ben, and that is an homage to the people who discovered King Tut-Tut-Tut's tomb.
Look at you!
Oh,
Look at you doing a little deep dive, deep cuts.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people know that, Ben. But even Rachel Weisz's character in it, she is a classic damsel in distress, isn't she? Yeah. But she gets more competent in the second one. Although the second one muddies the waters by having her be the reincarnation of
all of a sudden she's Francis. Somebody went back to the Francis Ford Coppola Dracula screenplay and went, "Oh yeah, let's just do that."
Just have her.
Can't believe I missed this first time around.
And you know what the best thing about the Mummy is, Ben?
What?
So he gets reborn, right? So. Well, okay, Anouk Sunamun is played by a Venezuelan actress. I forget her name, and she's introduced in. I think she's introduced in the opening scene, and it's a good old '90s exploitative. Yeah. She's essentially in the nude.
She's all hips.
She's all nude, no nipples, but everything else is nude, like Gods of Egypt in a lot of ways. But one of my favorite moments in it is, and this is never explicitly stated, but I've now seen this film so many times I've noticed it. The first person that Imhotep kills is a part of the American expedition, and he has glasses on, and he's incredibly short-sighted.
Yes.
And Imhotep takes his eyes and puts them in himself.
Terrible choice.
Then he sees Evie, and he thinks she's Anouk Sunamun because she's short-sighted. The whole thing happens because he's short-sighted. It's brilliant.
The premise of the film.
The whole premise of the film happens because you're watching this guy bumbling around with his glasses and you're going, why are they focusing on this idiot's glasses so much? And it all just comes together because he sees a vaguely brunette woman about the right height and goes, Anouk Sunamun?
In a weird zombie voice, because that's very
because he's still a zombie at that stage. Yeah,
is that Billy Zane? It is Billy Zane, isn't it?
It's not Billy Zane. It's Arnold Vosloo.
Is it?
Yes.
I always thought that was Billy Zane.
No, it's not Billy Zane. You could be forgiven. They have similarities. Arnold Vosloo initially saw the script and was like, I don't want to be in this. This looks stupid. And they convinced him because in a meeting he said, well, if I'm doing it, I'm playing it completely straight.
Oh, nice.
And it's probably the best decision of the whole film.
Yeah, it definitely is. He's not camp at all, which kind of sets him apart from a lot of that trope of the kind of foreign villain and stuff like that. There's not really a lot of campness to that. That's why he's so bloody menacing.
Yeah, he's great.
And the effects kind of hold up.
They do. The effects in the first one hold up. It's the second one where they introduced The Rock as the Scorpion King and they rendered it using a PlayStation 1. And that was probably a bad decision.
Yeah, it wasn't great. But, Michael, funnily enough, that was quite a good film, and I think that's where 2017's bloody Tom Cruise weird reboot thing falls down. Because all the moral, or all the kind of true line of the first film, where it's like, well, you shouldn't be fucking around other people's cultures. Maybe you should take a step back and let people who actually understand the culture do all the work. Maybe you shouldn't be a tomb-pilfering dickhead and just kind of get on with your life and do all that. That's all dispensed with to where we go, Tom Cruise, you lovable rogue.
Yeah, look at him. He's fast. He's really good at running and he's got a cool smile.
One of my favourite things about that, Michael, is these two lads are in the military and nobody bats an eyelid when they go around plundering tombs while they're on business for the American military.
That bloody wouldn't surprise me, Ben, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, no, there is no morality to it. And I think the biggest flaw in the 2007... Is the 2017's The Mummy?
Yeah.
Is that they make the Mummy below Tom Cruise. It's ridiculous. What's her name again? Amonette?
I can.
It's Amonette. They make her, and she's this horrible, terrifying, threatening mummy. But then he just beats her up and steals her powers and becomes the incarnation of the god Seth. It's like,
I'm just like,
get out of here.
They also kind of fucked that up because Seth isn't the god of death.
No.
They keep going on about the god of death. Anubis is the god of death in
he's
Egyptian
the god
mythology.
He's the god of deserts and being a prick, as we established earlier.
Yeah, deserts and being a prick.
Yeah.
So it's just a mess. But you lose all of that because there's no flaw in kind of stealing from tombs and stuff like that. In fact, it happens at the start and it happens again at the end. They go off to steal another fucking tomb. And you're just like, lads.
It's no good. It's no good.
Lads.
It's no good. We had some suggestions from listeners, Ben.
We did. Do you want me to read those?
Do you have them written down there?
I'll get them now. Just you spin your wheels there for
Use
2/8 of a second.
One of my favourites, Ben, was a Sega Saturn game. And
I don't know where this is going.
well, I mean, it's a Sega Saturn game, and it was a Sega Saturn shooting game, Ben, from the olden days, called Exhumed.
That's a great name for a video game.
In North America, it was called Power Slave, but Exhumed is a much better.
Power Slave is messy.
It's a bit.
Why would Americans choose that?
It's a weird.
Why
name.
did they think that would go well?
I think it was a Japanese company anyway, but in that you play like you're exploring Egypt, and it's got the old terrible graphics from the 90s, but you nip around Egypt killing monsters and Anubis Seth-headed monsters, and
great.
It's cool. It's really cool.
Really cool.
It was one of my early introductions to playing in the Western vision of ancient Egypt.
Nice.
Power
So,
Slave. What a
speaking of
terrible
Western visions of Europe, or Western visions of Egypt, we have quite a few here, Michael. Noted enemy of the podcast, an all-round bad bloke, Pup and Riker said Stargate, which we covered. Indiana Jones has a little bit of that, the famous scene in the market where Miriam gets bundled into a basket and taken off, and there's monkeys and fezzes and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. Was that Morocco? Was that Egypt or Morocco?
I think it was Morocco, but I think it's, in terms of representation, probably a little bit muddled in the middle.
In the 80s. In the 80s. This is not the
80s.
opinion of Benjamin Colopy. It was all the same in the 80s, wasn't it, Ben?
It's all the same in the 80s, Michael. Yeah. Everything was shot. Any kind of Egyptian thing was shot in Morocco anyway.
Yeah.
So
I think, now that you've said it, I think the Mummy was shot in Morocco.
Makes sense when you think about it. So he also said that thing with Tia Carrera, to which you said, party on, Shane. Party on, Sharth, which I thought was very funny, Michael.
Yeah, because
I actually let out a little guffaw. But he meant
good.
Relic Hunter, which was a weird Sky One drama starring Tia Carrera, where she was kind of like a sexy female Indiana Jones.
She was Lara Croft.
Yeah, she was Lara Croft and Indiana Jones if they had a baby.
Yeah.
And then Brian's Action Figures came in with an absolute win. Mummies Alive, which was a fantastic cartoon from the 90s in the vein of Gargoyles and Power Rangers and
Thundercats.
Basically all of those things. Thundercats. It was weird techno zombies that came back from the dead. It was excellent.
They were good eggs though, weren't they?
They were good eggs. They were all heroes.
Yeah.
They were all heroes. You had your big powerhouse mummy, kind of the chunky boy. There was a mummy dog. There was like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles nerd mummy. It was,
classic.
It was a whole thing. It was great. It was great. Then Nine Wassies came in with the classic kind of watch list from the 60s and 50s. The Ten Commandments, starring Charlton Heston as Moses.
Yeah, of course.
Yul Brynner as Ramses, which is just a win. Liz Taylor's Cleopatra in 1963, which was, at that point, the most expensive film in history. And then, it's just, he came in with those, which are the depictions, the Western depictions of Egypt. Very much just white people with a coat of bronzer on.
Yeah, and weird. Obelisks.
And it's so many obelisks.
Bloody obelisks.
There's your obelisk. Oh, man. Mental stuff. So thank you to all the listeners who sent in. Michael, shall we wrap it up?
Let's wrap it up, Benjamin. You usually do that.
Bloody wrap it up. That is me. Ladies and gentlemen.
Yes?
What do you think of our Egyptomania? Did we miss anything? Do you think anything else should be included as we go along? What do you think should have been included in our list? Get in touch with us in the following places. You can find us at seomrabeag.com, seomrabeag.com.
Means tiny room in Irish.
It does indeed. If you don't like the old-fashioned interwebs, you can find us on the social medias at Instagram at seomrabeag, seomrabeag.
Still means tiny room in Irish.
Roughly speaking, yes, it does. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are listening to us on YouTube, leave us a comment, like, and subscribe. If you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts,
yes,
give us a review.
Give us one.
give us a review, or we'll come back and haunt you, and Mick will get the wrong eyeballs, and you'll be short-sighted, and there'll be comical farces ensuing. It'll be a whole thing.
Terrible.
You don't have to love us in the review. Just give us 5 stars, and then write a terrible review about us in the actual comment section. It's fine. Just give us the 5 stars. We just want the 5 stars.
Just
okay?
give us
the 5 stars. If you listen to us on Spotify and you think any of your friends might enjoy this particular episode, don't forget to hit the share button. You can put us in your Instagram story that all your pals can listen along. Do you know what? You don't even have to give us to all your pals. You can just send it to one of your pals. Every little helps.
Yeah.
Every little helps.
Any single one.
That's it. If you've had enough, if you haven't had enough of us this week, ladies and gentlemen, you can listen to us again this very Wednesday, where we'll be doing collecting issues on something we haven't decided yet.
Have we not decided? Oh no!
There'll be a mystery collecting issues this Wednesday, and that's it from us this week, ladies and gentlemen. Bye.
Oh, goodbye. Oorah, oorah, rah, oorah, oorah, rah. He is a mummy.